so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie. Dusty with you, Gager with you. I'm expecting Cass to join us today. He might be so devastated after a post-game last night, as was the entire city. It was a tough one. There's no doubt about that. But Kassian will end up joining us here today as well. I'm assuming we were just texting with him. Two Guys and a Goalie is presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. It's that easy. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or just visit their page at Indeed.ca. With the Next Step Person program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it tis be a career at GS Construction with the Sandman. Gager, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm getting through the day. It's wet. It's cold.
I know.
It's not a great day. You want to say the old saying that the sun comes up the next day, but we haven't seen it yet. So maybe it's the tears of Oilers fans, and after this tremendous run, I guess it's just par for the course.
Somebody texted in today and said Matthias Ekholm is a liar. He said the sun was going to come up today, and I was just like, fair point. Like when I was driving in today, it was pouring rain, and I just thought, this is just we're just inside the emotions of the Oilers fan base. It's just that's what it is right now. Gager, they came so damn close. What an amazing run. I mean, I know this is all heartbreak today, and we'll look back on it and be like, man, it was an incredible team, incredible run. They just didn't have it last night. They didn't have it, did they?
No, it's so tremendously hard to get that, beat a team 4 times in a row, and you got to look to certain parts of the series, and that game 1 was that Bobrovsky game where he stole one for the Panthers, because they really had no business in that game, and the Oilers just couldn't seem to break through that at that crucial time and steal that one. The series probably ends a lot quicker at that point, right? And it gave them a little bit of juice there, but the comeback, like I didn't think they were able to do it, and I was completely optimistic going into last night, but then just beating a team 4 games in a row. I don't care if you're playing, the San Jose Sharks. It's tough to beat an NHL team 4 times in a row. Well, maybe not the Sharks, but it's very difficult. And the fact that they were not only did that, but were just like, one shot away from sending that thing to overtime. And, we've probably, everyone's watched that play, and how did that actually stay out? And you saw Bobrovsky actually get a little piece of a puck with his glove in in that scramble. And, they were just able to bring it home. But even I think, was it you that said even that last minute and a half, like they just looked gassed.
They looked, that was when I was like, oh, they're physically done. Like they have, because they couldn't even get, I don't want to take anything away from Florida, who must have been doing some good things there. But I thought that was the least ineffective 90 seconds with an empty net that I've ever seen this team play. Right? Like that was wild to me. That blew my mind how bad they were in the final 90 seconds.
I mean, we will probably talk tons about it, but I thought the fact that they went to the Draisaitl McDavid, I thought it was a little too early. They still could have. They had time to distribute a little bit more ice, and then you were double shifting them. Leon he couldn't stop last night, Dusty. I don't think he stopped once. It was just big, huge turns. This guy, it'll be interesting to see what was actually wrong with him. But yeah, it was fantastic, man. I had a blast covering it and getting emotional and getting fired up. All the little places visiting during Oilers games and. What a great 2.5 months this was.
We did have a really good stretch. Is Cass ready to go, Zach? To come, we're good. Let's bring in Matt Kassian as well, who obviously was busy on post game last night as well. Cass, great job on post game last night. That was a pretty wild and crazy place. What were your takeaways from just the post game last night for you and Tommy?
Yeah, well, it's just emotional. A lot of people looking for something.
Tommy, wait, Cass, just a second. Is your mic plugged in? I don't think we're picking up your actual mic. I think it's something else. I don't know if we might be coming through like your camera feed or something. Hey, Gager, did you hear that too? Did it sound the same way?
Yeah, it sounded a little bit different.
Yeah, it definitely sounded a little bit off there.
It sounded like it was coming through the.
We'll let him reconnect. We'll get Cass sorted out. Zach to come. Figure out what's going on with Cass. See if he can reconnect. We'll get to that. Good, but yeah, I was watching a lot of the post game last night, and obviously there's a lot of heartbreak. And I wanted to get to this one message. If you're watching over on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up. Chime in on the hockey game, obviously. And if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, 780-218-9999. It's Two Guys and Goalie presented by GS Construction. True says, guys, it's been years since I had been so emotionally invested in a sporting event. The best two teams of the NHL with such expectations from both sides in a Game 7. Beyond words, guys. I understand the Oilers' pain. I think that's I think that's good. It was Tammy, my wife, lifelong Oilers fan, grew up in Edmonton, and Marshall, my son. Gager, I have to tell you, heartbreaker. Yeah, he started to tear up with about 8 minutes left, and I kept telling him, I was like, they've come back all year. Like, I still like their chances. Hang in there. And then with about 5 minutes left, he just full-blown started crying, and I held him like a little child in my arms. I was like, it's okay. And I'm still like, they're going to pull the goalie, and they're going to tie it. And it's me. Like, I'm watching me for as an adult almost when I'm watching LeBron in the playoffs and stuff. I'm watching it. He's such a good kid. He's sitting there, and he was getting very mad with the officials because it's the Stanley Cup Finals and they put the whistles away and they don't call anything. And he's like, the officials suck. And then he looked at Tammy. He goes, I'm sorry for saying suck. I shouldn't have said it. I was like, it's okay, buddy. It's all right. And then he goes, right near the end, he goes, I hate the Florida Panthers. And we're like, it's okay. And then he goes, Daddy, I shouldn't have said hate. I'm sorry. It was so good. And then when the TV finally, when they were just about to win it, he's like, shut the TV off. He's just, it was an emotional. Then I let him go back and let him just throw whatever he wanted all around the backyard. It helped a little bit. Cass, how are you doing? I'm assuming you had the same reaction last night.
Oh, I did. Pretty similar. Is it
yeah,
sounded better now, guys?
Yeah, you're good now.
I don't know what that was. It was the settings were all for the good mic, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was emotional. It was emotional. I probably wasn't the only one. I don't know about you guys, but I had a little bit of a tough time sleeping. It took me a little bit to fall asleep. I was pretty gutted. Gutted for the Oilers, gutted for the guys in the team, gutted for the city, just sick to my stomach feeling that, just to be right there and to have that opportunity. So I didn't throw anything, but I said some worse words than suck under my breath. That's for sure. Hate. But that post-game show, like I said, it was a wide range of emotions. People going through the stages of grief, and some of them quite quickly, where they were already on anger. Some people a little bit in that denial stage, some people just in the sadness stage, and a lot of people in that anger stage too. So it's what a wild ride, guys! What a wild ride. I can't help but think, and I said it on the pregame show, and you guys maybe already even brought this up, but if the Oilers score the first goal, that game is so completely different. I think they take it over. And I want to jump on because you touched on it, Dusty, yesterday, and you brought it up here already today. Were they just
exhausted, do you think?
Well, at that point, yeah, because there was no whistles. Like if there was something that really hurt them, and that's as a coach, there's nothing you can plan, because Tommy asked a question, or someone texted and asked it, which I think was a great question, was like, what do you think of Knoblauch's use, stacking 29 and 97 and then going to them as early as he did instead of waiting a little bit, because then they were tired because you were double shifting them the whole time. And it's like, yeah, I think they were tired at the end there. But I think a lot of it is that there was no whistles. And that's on the group as a whole to not get those whistles, like, because they didn't get the puck to the net. Yeah. They didn't have good possession. And that's like, you lob it glove side, force Bobrovsky to freeze it to hold on to it, because every time there's a whistle, that's an extra 30 seconds of recovery.
If you're the Fogle group out there at that time, right? Like that's, because
absolutely.
Marshall mid breakdown was like, why don't they pull the goalie? I said, if they're trying to get a whistle, they can't get a whistle. Yeah. They can't get a whistle. Yeah. And that was, I mean,
like, I don't care. Frustrating. Try to shoot it if you don't have a play, and in the offensive zone, if you have the puck, flip it over the glass. Flip it over the glass. Like that 30 seconds. It's like a timeout. Having a face-off is like a timeout, and you've seen like centers go in, they stall, they can delay, you intentionally get kicked out the first time. Just to try to buy a little bit of extra time, because that group at the end, they had no gas left at the end. I wouldn't say that's the Oilers game as a whole. Didn't look like they had no gas, no energy, but at the end there wasn't much. But even in that, Dusty, like their execution in that 6-on-5 was atrocious. Yeah, it was absolutely atrocious. Like they turned the puck over 3 or 4 times. After the second time they turn it over, I'm like, just in my heart, I was just like, it sunk, because I'm like, they're done. Like they don't have the jam here. But yeah, just a wider range of emotions, guys. And I'm sad today. I'm sad for YouTube, Trev.
We still haven't even seen him today. he hasn't come into work again. I don't know if we'll ever see YouTube Trev again. Like,
maybe not. He's heartbroken, but just a trooper. So yeah, it was tough. Gage, you mentioned too, going to those two guys together a little bit too early, a little bit too heavily in the third period. At the moment, we were talking today about the moment you knew it wasn't their night. I think there's a different conversation for the moment you knew that it was officially over. And when they had the 6-on-5 and McDavid came through the neutral zone, and the one Panther sort of just tied him up and he fell down, and that was it. I was just like, oh, so there is going to be no miraculous comeback, right, Gage? Like, you're just like, it's like when Donnie didn't bowl the strike in the Big Lebowski and then died in the parking lot when the nihilists attacked. Like, you're just like, what's this about? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
McDavid was falling a couple times, and then I was starting to blame the ice too. The ice is crap. Get better ice.
It was crap. Both teams have to play with it. That's the thing.
It's good to have a little bit more experience on it, and you could see that like different times. I think what the Panthers were doing was, if they had nothing, they were shooting the puck from horrible angles, right? Like, just again looking for anything, a whistle or something like that. That Oilers could have done more of, more pucks to the net. That I said it this morning, Dusty. I thought it was a pretty pedestrian level of play for Bobrovsky. It wasn't that difficult. Stuart Skinner had a much more difficult first period with what he had to deal with bodies in front.
It was his fault, though. It was his fault. We got a lot of that.
You got that last night. I got that this morning. I became unhinged around 7:20 this morning for about 5 minutes.
Just ludicrous. A ludicrous take, but
I just don't know. I just don't know how you can have a take right now that, like, without Skinner cost him. I was like, what are you talking about, you idiots? Like,
Skinner can't win you a cup. Like, give me a freaking break.
This is why hockey, and they say that the Stanley Cup is so difficult to win, because you have your superstars, but you can't just say you can't compare your superstars in basketball to hockey. Like, the superstars in basketball, it's completely different. You can have two guys and they can take you to a finals, right? That's ridiculous. You can have
one that takes you to a final. A la LeBron.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's completely different. Like, you need more. Like, you need more.
He had Kyrie too. Come on, guys.
Well, the 1 year Kyrie was hurt, they still went to the final. I mean, you go to a final 8 straight years. It's ridiculous. But anyway, let's continue with the conversation on hockey.
You need everyone pulling on the same chain, and that's why it's so, the fact that they get to the final and they're getting contributions from places that you didn't expect them to come from all of a sudden is miraculous, and even the Janmark goal, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, man, this is something special to get that bottom six scoring, and then kind of waiting around to see what the big boys were able to muster. But it just, it didn't happen. Pretty unfortunate that Connor couldn't have just one more of those 5-point games.
That would have been really nice. I just,
Yep.
Cass, what do you think's up with Draisaitl? Because like Gager said before you came in, like he couldn't even stop last night. Like he didn't stop. There's no stops and starts in his game. Now Tommy texted us the players' availability will be tomorrow. Management availability will be on Thursday, and then it's the draft, and then it's free agency, and then it's like right back at it. I can't believe they didn't sign this guy. I can't believe they don't have the cap space for this. That's next week. Like next week we'll be getting into that, which is absolutely insane. But geez, what the hell was I asking you? Oh, Draisaitl. Yeah. So what are you thinking with Draisaitl? What did you see in his game? Like
originally I thought it was his back, at the start of the series. But the more I saw, and when he took a bump and had to leave, or you knew he's going to see the doctor in between periods, then it switched to ribs for me, where I was like, it's probably his ribs.
Okay.
Which, if you've ever had ribs, it sucks. You can't breathe. You can't get oxygen. Any kind of bump just absolutely kills. Like ribs, if it's broken or cracked ribs, really difficult to deal with. So it wouldn't shock me. He probably had a broken finger too, and we had all seen that. That you can play with, that you can deal with. But the ribs are the killer for that. And saw the same thing as you guys. Not a lot of stopping. Physically, it was difficult for him to engage. He was trying. Part of with the ribs too, we saw him be off on his one-timers from his spot where he didn't score, wasn't able to convert from there. And I know Bobrovsky had one save that was a good save on that, but I think just the twisting and the leaning and the trying to put oomph into what you're doing, it's a core type injury. In core type injuries, we'll probably find out with Connor McDavid too, they're incredibly hard to deal with. Because everything you do is affected by it. And so I'm betting it's ribs. Again, we'll probably hear more, find out more as time goes on here, but that's my inkling.
All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Let me bang out some text messages here. Then we'll get into the nasty chat. If you're watching over on YouTube here today, you can hammer the thumbs up for us on Two Guys and a Goalie. That would be great. And if you are listening on TuneIn, iHeart, or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, all we ask is you send your friends a text with a link to EdmontonSportsTalk.com. But let's dive into a few of the text messages that have rolled in so far as well. Yes, Gager, yes. I was thinking that last night as well. That's not how they got there. This goes back to some of the things you said right off the top. Why change it in the last period when Leon looks to be 40%? Surveyor Brett is in today and says, guys, I think the hardest thing that hit me was watching my 9-year-old with his face in his palms, wiping tears away right after the game ended in a pin drop, quiet Rogers Place. They were at the watch party. Just absolutely heartbreaking on that one. Juan is in and says, bring on the next season in 3 days. Which is right. I mean, we kind of transition here very, very quickly. Pinto Creek texts in today at 780-218-9999 and says, the Panthers were like they were playing football. They just tackled when we had the puck and just collapsed on top of everything in front of the net. Bad hockey, but successful. We will get them next year. This one is in and says, after that first 1,000 times in the power play, the Draisaitl shot didn't work. They should have switched up the playbook. Switch him and Nuge, or do something on that front. What do you guys think about the old power play? Like they only got the one last night, and it was funny because there could have been so many penalties called against the Panthers, but the one that they called was an absolute garbage call.
Yeah, it was
I couldn't believe they called it. I'm surprised the linesman didn't go over and say, "No, man, he slipped." Like that's not a penalty. That was wild to me. But Kaz, what do you think about the comment on the power play? And if Draisaitl can't bury because of the situation he's in, you have to mix something up.
It's still pretty hard if he's feels he's good enough to go and he's out there.
You still want the looming threat, right? That Bobrovsky has to be thinking like, yeah,
you still want the looming threat. And, even on that power play, because you had the broken stick, you had good movement and you had some opportunity. And when the penalty killing group is tired, which they were, and they're missing a stick, which they were, that's when you start to look for the seam plays, because that starts to open up, because that generally is a time when you really want to look for it. So I thought the power play generated a whole bunch of chances. The one that they had, like, it was a good power play. They just didn't score on it. Maybe if you had another one, you'd look away from going to Draisaitl after trying to go to him a couple of times, but you only had the one power play. So pretty tough to say, guys.
Gage, any thoughts on that?
One, they had that great angle of Bouchard when he rang it off the outside of the post there. Mm-hmm. Like, if it's, and it was like that one angle, they showed it like it was wide open. Even if that's even a little bit more, like, that could have gone an inch inside the post, and I think it was still, like, Bobrovsky wasn't going to stop that. He was overplaying, I think, the Hyman tip on that particular side. He wasn't expecting Bouchard to put it far side there. So yeah, like you said, Cass, there was good opportunities to score goals, I think, on that power play. Just they just didn't have it. They just didn't have that extra little oomph. And I mean, the Verhaeghe tip was perfect. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. That sucks so bad as a goalie when that happens, because you've got it. You're kind of just fielding a ground ball at that point. It's just coming right into your belly, and then it perfect tip between the legs. Very frustrating.
If you're watching on YouTube, get some of the comments in there. We will slide into the nasty chat coming up here on Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction with Nielsen, Gage, and Kassian. A little more quick text here, and then we'll get to we'll probably play Hired or Fired first today, because I got a bunch more Oilers questions I want to get to. Then we'll get to some bigger and hotter headlines for Big Mamas and Papa's Pizzeria with the with NHL news starting to happen. We got trades, we got signings, we got extensions. So there's a bunch of stuff we'll get to there as well. This question is in, Cass, and I'll lead it to you first. Do you guys think they should have pulled the goalie at like the 3:30 mark when they had McDavid in the offensive zone and a face-off in that situation? That's a little early, isn't it?
It's a little early.
They had great sustained pressure rate after that with the top line.
The thing about that, though, like, I kind of lean towards, in retrospect, in hindsight, which is easier, yes, because the reality is if you get scored on with the empty net, you still have time at that point. Like, and if your guys are fresh and they're fresh, and you're going to have to roll them a whole bunch, and that's when they're getting out there with fresh legs, I would have done it then. Again, hindsight, it's easy to say that. You think you're going to get another whistle, maybe two, where they're going to have some extra time to recover. But yeah, you looking back at it, you're like, yeah, would have been nice, because you had sustained pressure, you had opportunity, and maybe that extra guy's a difference out there. So I think it would have been the right call to do it at that point, but pretty tough to make that early.
Gage, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think the fact that they loaded up those two too early at that point. And I don't know. It just looked like Leon wasn't. I mean, he couldn't stop. And I know you live and die with your big dogs, and you got to give them the chance to kind of break through. But I don't know. It would have been. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference when the goalie came out. To tell you the truth.
Another text. This person texting in for the first time ever. So thank you for the text message. 780-218-9999. Is there too much clutching and grabbing today? When Wayne, Mess, Sanderson, and Coffey played, it just wasn't that much. Last night, McDavid and Draisaitl looked completely smothered. So we're comparing, 40 years apart. The game has changed. Cass, it does frustrate me a little bit that you can get away with so much when the stakes are so high in the Stanley Cup Final,
You just want them to call the rule book.
Yeah.
Like, don't change it. And I understand you don't want to be, as the official, you don't want to be the difference, but sometimes trying to be the difference, you can be part of the difference. And trying not to be the difference, you can become part of the difference. Because, a game with lots of power plays favors the Oilers. They're special teams. Their special teams were better. They're a special teams team. So, that type of game favors Edmonton. So you give a slight advantage to the Florida Panthers by having that and by not calling the rule book, which would have been nice to see. At the end of the day, though, guys, McDavid and Draisaitl still 0 points, 5-on-5, right? Like, your big guns still didn't produce 5-on-5, not enough grade A opportunities around the net 5-on-5. And so I know we I think rightfully so can be frustrated with the lack of calls by the officiating, but that you still have to find ways to score outside of that. You got 1 goal 5 on 5. You got 1 goal 5 on 5, and that's not enough.
What are you supposed to do in that situation, right? You got to score more goals. I said, Gage, I think I brought it up with you this morning because we were talking about it earlier on. So, Cass, I'll throw it to you. If you would have told Oilers fans going into Game 7 that Stuart Skinner would only allow 2 goals, you would take it. Like you would take that
Absolutely.
last night, right? Like you would like the odds going into that game if that was the situation.
Well, that's what I said to all the people. They're like, "Oh, Skinner is like." You scored 1 goal for the guy. You scored 1 goal for the guy, and whatever. I think he was just ended up a shade under 900.
905. No, it was not. Well, it was 905 last night.
Okay.
Yeah,
the 1 extra. Okay, yeah. So it's like he pitches a 2-goal game in Game 7. Like the Oilers scored 1 goal. Stuart Skinner would have had to have a shutout to win.
Yeah.
Like so. Yeah. You would, if you would have told me before, and most people before, hey, your goal only gives up 2 against the Florida Panthers, and you're Edmonton in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You're like, oh yeah, we're probably winning that game. But the big guns didn't score. The only offensive production you got was from Matthias Janmark,
and a great pass from Cody Ceci.
Oh, beautiful pass from Cody.
Great pass. Great pass from Ceci. That might have been the best pass he's ever made as an Oiler. Like just an absolute dart right onto the tape. It was a good pass. Real nice pass. All right, so Raz48 over the Nancy Jet says the Oilers have a tough go when it comes to cap space. I don't think they'll see the finals again anytime soon. This was our chance. We'll be lucky to get out of the first round next year with a strong division. And I'm sorry, half the division is absolute garbage. Okay, so first of all, half your divisional game should be walks in the park next year for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't think the Canucks. Oh, YouTube Trev series giving people hugs. He's trying to get through the day. I don't think the Canucks will be as good as they were last year in the regular season. We'll see what happens with Vegas as well. The Kings will be what the Kings have been for the last 3-4 years. I don't see much of a difference on that front either. I mean, the one thing the Oilers. And this came up this morning, too. Imagine if Game 7 last night was at Rogers Place. The Edmonton Oilers are Stanley Cup champions right now. I honestly believe that. So they have not won the division. As good as they've been the last few years, they've not won the division. I think that's there for them. If everybody can get rested up and healthy for the beginning of next year, I think it's kind of crazy to think that you're scared by the rest of your division when you're the Edmonton Oilers. You should be the best team in that division. Cass, am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
No. I mean,
you should be. And I think everyone else will be looking at it, and not many teams, looking forward to playoffs in 2025, not many teams are going to look at the Edmonton Oilers and say, oh, we want to play these guys, right? Like they're not going to be beating down the doors to be like, we think there's we have the best chance of winning against Edmonton in this division in the first round. It's probably not going to be the case. Again, like, is it going to be a tough division? Yeah. Is the West going to be tough? Yeah. But the East is going to be tough too. Like there's nowhere easy. There's nowhere easy. There's always good teams that you're going to have to overcome. It's always going to be a battle. It's always going to be a challenge because of parity in the league. Not one team is so much further better than everybody else that it's just like, oh, they're just going to be a shoe-in cakewalk. With that being said, Edmonton is going to have a very good chance to win the division and to put themselves in a good position to have a playoff run. Now they're going to have to do it. They can't have the start they had this year, but they're going to have the potential for sure.
Yeah, you look at the Pacific, and I mean, they should be battling for first in the Pacific throughout the whole year. I'm with you, Dusty. I think the Canucks they're not going to surprise as many teams at the beginning of the season. And they've got a lot of things to figure out on their own roster and solidify. Same with the Oilers. The Golden Knights are going to probably lose some of these guys as well. Every team is going to look a little bit different going into next season. But I think if you look at cap friendly for probably the last time over the next few weeks here, the Oilers have a pretty good nucleus of guys coming back of what the experience that they've gained throughout this season. and can take it into the next one.
Yeah, we'll get to off-season stuff obviously coming up very quickly, I guess. But when you look at it from guys like their UFAs are Connor Brown, probably would like him back at a really, really, really good deal because you did him a solid this year. Fogel, I don't know what the number is going to be. If it's going to be too much, then see you later, Fogel. Matthias Janmark, I think he can get back at a reasonable deal as well. But, Nuge, Kane, Hyman, Draisaitl, McDavid, all those guys, Nurse, Ekholm, CC, Kulak, Bouchard. I mean, I know they only have about in between 10 and 11 million bucks right now, but there's not a lot of big tickets that they have to actually get done, right? You have to sort of fine-tune the depth of the roster again. And if you can somehow miraculously move out the Jack Campbell contract, then you're in business. You can actually do something maybe of significance in the offseason. So I don't think the cap situation's as bleak as some people are immediately making it out to be. It's not ideal, obviously. But we'll get into that as we work our way through the next couple, next 10 days. It's just such a quick turnaround. Usually we have like at least a month to preview free agency, and now it's like, surprise, it's on Monday. So yeah, really, really weird offseason this year as well. All right, let's go hire it or fire it right now for GS Construction, the presenting sponsor of what we've got going on over here at Two Guys and a Goalie. Here we go. Hire it or fire it. It's sticking with the others. Then we'll get to some of the bigger, hotter headlines around the league as well. And there's a bunch of them already kicking around. But all right, the take. I lay out the take. You guys hire it or you fire it for GS Construction. They are hiring right now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on Indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. All right, the Oilers must bring back both Brown and Janmark. Hire it or fire it. Cass?
Fire it. It's not a must. I think it'd be good to, if you can get them on value deals, but it's not a must.
I think
those guys aren't completely.
You have to get them on value deals, right? Like I just don't see a lot of teams being like, "Oh, we're going to outbid the Oilers for Brown and Janmark." You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, no, I think you do if you can, but I wouldn't say it's a must. So fire it.
Gager?
Yeah, I would say fire it too. Who knows what after seeing what Janmark did this playoffs, he might get a couple more people interested. Brown, I think that's the one you could look at getting to possible league minimum for next year.
Yeah, in the playoffs, that was their second best in the Stanley Cup Final. That was their second best line, which is I can't believe I'm even saying those words right now. Like I go to say it and my mouth goes like it doesn't want me to say it, but sure enough, the Oilers will be back in a Stanley Cup Final within 2 years. Hire it or fire it.
I'm gonna hire it. They're too good. Seeing what Connor does in the postseason, seeing what Leon can do when healthy, and now you having a battle-tested goaltender, two young guys that got valuable experience of playing into June. I'd say they'll be back.
Yeah, that's a quick yes. I think they win it next year.
Hey,
hot take.
That was my prediction this morning. I beat you to it. I had half a Mickey of birdie booze this morning, and then claimed that the Edmonton Oilers were going to win the Stanley Cup in 2025. So it's out there. Florida went there and lost and came back and won immediately. Like I know some people say, Dusty, it's statistically tough. One team just did it, and I think the Oilers are in a spot. They've lost to the last 3 Stanley Cup champions. At some point, they become the Stanley Cup champion. All right, how about this one? Trading Evander Kane would be an ideal scenario this offseason. Hire it or fire it.
I'm gonna fire it because I don't know what's coming back. I think you gotta.
I don't know if you get much back, right, Gager? I don't know what you'd get. You're not gonna
no the same type of player. That's what apples to apples. I don't know like salary cap wise how much you're getting, whatever. But I think that was that was one of the areas where the Oilers could have used a little bit more of throughout this whole playoffs, is a little bit more, aggressive getting into the grill of other teams. And of course, I mean, aside from this year, because he was injured, he did perform quite well and scored some timely goals. That's where you need Evander Kane, right? So it has to be an apples to apples comparison.
Cass, go ahead, answer this one, then I'll chime in.
Was hiring it? Yes, it would be ideal.
Yes.
I'm gonna say hire it, because I think you are probably trying to increase that dynamic in your team by bringing him in. So I'm going to hire it. I think ideally you do, and if you can do it from a cap saving standpoint, more the better, to deploy some of that capital elsewhere when you've seen that you can have success without him in the lineup. Can I just add a side note here real quick?
Yeah.
And this could be something we don't have to talk, I guess, in depth about it right now, but with Evander Kane's injury, I think maybe incredible is the wrong word, but it was mismanagement to not have surgery when he got hurt early in the season, to not have him at 100% for the playoffs. And I know you weren't in the playoffs, and so you're thinking about getting to the playoffs, but he should have been shut down because he did not play at the level you needed him to play because he was hurt, and you needed that physicality. You needed that. That would have been such a boon for the team, but he wasn't able to play like he needed to play. So I just, as a side note, I think it was a mistake to not shut him down.
What's the recovery time on a hernia thing?
Like a month.
Yeah.
Well, then why the hell didn't they do that? Yeah.
They could have done it at the beginning of the playoffs, for crying out loud.
That's a good point.
You would have debated the playoffs, but you should have done it. Because when was it? Was it February?
Oh, it was mid-season, man. Yeah, it was mid-season.
Yeah,
even before.
It was before February, I think.
And even then, you would have had cap savings too. Like that would have came into play from him being on LTIR. I would have. Yeah, it was a mistake not to pull him.
I'm a little torn on the moving of Kane, because, I think a healthy Evander Kane could have been huge in this series against Florida. You know what I mean? If he's healthy and engaged, he's a difference maker in this type of series against Florida. So I don't think you're going to get a player close to his caliber, or his upside, at least I'll say. But if you have a better plan for the cap space, I got time for the discussion, I guess, is what I'd be saying.
So let's just pitch this. Let's pitch this.
Okay.
Would you, and it's going to be more expensive than this, but if you were able to move Evander Kane and say, we're going to give that up, but we're going to get Chris Tanev. So we have to move a D-man. So we move a D-man, move Evander Kane, have the cap space to sign Chris Tanev. Would you do it?
Okay, sorry. I immediately thought how I already saw an email today saying Tanev trying to get a deal done, but there's interest from the Leafs. So I already got confused by everything you're saying. If you're saying you could move off Kane knowing that money's going to go towards bringing in Tanev?
Yeah.
Are you moving a D-man too, Cass?
Yeah, I'd say you'd have to move a D-man.
Yeah, you have to CC would have to be the odd man out. Or you let Desharnais walk and CC's your something there, yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
I mean, I do have faith in Dylan Holloway being close to a 20-goal guy next year, and he was second in the playoffs in hits. He's different style. He's not going to intimidate anybody by fighting them, but he can apply some of that aggressiveness to the game. I'd probably look at that.
That might, because Holloway can play that style, like physically finishing his checks, getting that kind of annoying player. God, this guy's in my face all the time. There's none of that after the whistle kind of intimidation things, but yeah, there is definitely a physical presence. I like that. But now with Broberg, the way he played, I think he's provided whoever's going to be GM with a way more options to think about who they're going to bring in, because he's on the team next year.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's arguably, he could be in the top 4, or 3-4 position, 4-5. I'll say 4-5.
I'm just still very intrigued by the upside and top end ability of Kane. So we'll I still think he can score 30 goals if you just connected with Draisaitl, or they somehow left him with McDavid. It was a tough year. We know what he was going through, but Cash, you make a great point on why wasn't that taken care of, and then even have a little bit of ramp-up time before the playoffs, and then you get a healthy Evander Kane in the postseason, and that probably changes a little bit. All right, one more for hire it or fire it for GS Construction. I can't believe I have to ask this question, but the Oilers need a new general manager in place by the beginning of free agency. Hire it or fire it. I know Tommy said that Holland is going to be there to oversee the draft and things. Do you guys actually think they have a GM in place by Monday? Or does Jeff Jackson just sort of oversee free agency with the rest of his staff and then they get a GM in place?
I think they already got it set. I think they know who's going in. I think it's going to happen quick. You can't tell me that they just started thinking about this now.
You don't think they sent out a text to everybody today being like, hey, if you're interested in being our GM, send in your resumes right now?
Yeah, like the plan has been, you've known this is coming. And you've been working on it for a while. So, yeah, I would assume we will have a very quick turnaround and that there will be a new GM before free agency that's gonna head stuff up.
Man, well, what do we say? Players are going to be available tomorrow. Everybody else is going to be available on Thursday. I mean, it would kind of make sense to be like, oh, and here's our new GM on Thursday, and he'll be at the table during the draft, but Holland and the scouting staff will still oversee things, and then full go for free agency on Monday, type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fire it. I think I've said this before. I think that old JJ walked by the full length mirror and pulled the whole Kyle Dubas and goes, "Whoa, who's that?"
I am the Hay King. Yeah,
that's our new GM right there. There he is. All right,
what are you doing here? Yeah, that's a good one. V-Power in the Nasty Chat says, guys, is that job posted on Indeed yet? I don't think it is. But, if you are looking for a job, go to Indeed.ca. GS Construction is hiring. GS Construction is hiring right now. So you got that going for you as something that you could look at as well. All right, let's dive into some of the bigger and hotter headlines around the National Hockey League. And there's a bunch of them because the offseason is upon us here right now. The bigger and hotter headlines are brought to you by Big Mama's and Papa's Pizzeria. Real Pizzeria restaurant, not just a delivery pizza chain, serving authentic Italian cuisine with their made in-house pizza dough, traditional tomato sauce, fresh toppings. Each pizza is cooked to perfection. A pizza experience you've been waiting for. Visit them at 12848 97th Street. Order today at www.bmpp.ca or call 587-746-0550. That's 587-746-0550. Jocelyn texted in, I think, earlier today with a picture of her next to it. It was outdoors. All these pictures are always outdoors because you can't get the pizza in the bloody house, but she had it open right next to her. I still haven't seen anybody drop a 54-inch pizza on us, though. Right? Like, I want to see the first person who tweets to me and goes, you'll never believe the size of the flatbed truck they had that had to drop this pizza off. Like, that would be absolutely incredible. All right, bigger and hotter headlines around the National Hockey League. Got to start with the Ottawa Senators trading for Linus Ullmark. Gage, you're the goalie on two guys on a goalie. They tried to do this with Korpisalo. He was going to be the guy. He ended up not being the guy. They didn't need to see any more of him, so they go out and get Ullmark. I saw somebody make a great point yesterday. Ullmark should sign an extension immediately. Well, his Bruins numbers are still his numbers, as opposed to the numbers behind the Ottawa Senators. But your thoughts on what this means for the Ottawa Senators to trade for Ullmark?
Oh gosh, how many years have we been doing this when we do like our preseason rankings of teams, and we always seem to have the Ottawa Senators, at least, pushing for a playoff spot. And I don't know. It's been years, Dusty. I think it'll solidify it. Ullmark's he's a Vezina Trophy winner, really good goaltender, but played in a pretty good system too. We've seen goalies go to that Ottawa and just get chewed up. It's going to be very difficult for him to make that much of a difference with this team. There's a lot of other pieces that have to fall in place for them to be competitive. I don't know. Maybe it is Staios. Maybe it is a new direction with everything, and it does turn around here. But I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket just with one player signing there so far.
Cass, what do you think of this?
I mean, I'm probably going to end up picking the Senators to push for wild card spot.
As per usual.
As per usual. Hey, I mean, Omar's numbers are good. The challenge, as Gager said, is going to be that goalies have gone there and got chewed up, where they haven't been able to play in front of the goalie to provide the type of support they need. With that being said, I like Omar more than Korpisalo.
Yeah.
So it could be a fit. So I think you're taking a little bit of a chance here to say that we're going to improve in front of our goaltending enough that he's going to be able to give us good numbers and to provide a stabilizing presence. But, I think they wanted to act soon. They knew what they wanted to do. So I think it's a good move for them, and I'm hoping that it ends up being at least helping make a difference. Because I would love to see them push for a playoff spot. I think that would be fun. So I'm rooting for them with this one. Don't know if it'll work, but as of right now, I like it.
So does Swayman hug Korpisalo now? Is what happens here? This is
I guess he has to become
goalie. It's a weird goalie love triangle here. I don't know what's happening.
Don't ask us, Gager. You tell us. If you had a hugging relationship with your old goaltending tandem partner, would you try to start the same tradition with the new guy?
Yeah, that might not go over well. I don't know. I'll have to at our next goaltender meeting. We'll discuss. I'll let you guys know. How about that?
The only comparison I have here for this would be Dave Moyer, Moisty. He's a longtime stats guy. He's battling cancer right now, and he's usually in the booth with Suits and I. And after the national anthem, him and Suits reach across and they go like this. Then I hit Moisty. Then I hit Suits, and then we blow it up. It's super smooth. We've been doing it for 5 years. Moisty and Suits have been doing it for 20 years. Without Moisty there, the other two stats guys who've been rolling in, I swear to God, the one guy doesn't know how to bump fists. He's just like pushing it around like this. I was like, oh, you're ruining the tradition. What's happening, man? We got to work on this. So they got to come up. We might have to come up with something new. I don't know. We might have to do something new. It's the bigger and hotter headlines for Big Mamas and Papas Pizzeria. I do believe the first 6 players for this Four Nations Cup are going to be announced. I thought it was supposed to be tomorrow. First, the teams all have to announce their first 6 guys, the McDavids, the McKinnons, the Crosbys, that type of thing. But John Cooper's been named the head coach of Canada for the Four Nations. Gager seems like probably the wisest decision. I think he's had a ton of success. Everybody seems to love him. I like this decision.
He was supposed to coach the Olympic team last time, right? Anyways, so yeah, give him get him in there. He's probably the most successful Canadian coach that we've had over the last decade, I would say. Winning percentage, all that stuff. And I love what he says. His message is great. I have no problem with that.
Cass-
Well, I have a huge bone to pick with this.
Uh-oh.
I got beef.
Uh-oh.
No, I don't got beef.
Oh.
I mean,
Nobody could.
I want to say it was a given, but no, you can't say anything negative about it. You can't. Yeah, not overly surprising, not shocking, but I think a good choice.
What was going through you guys?
The one thing.
Oh, go ahead, Gidger.
The one thing I wanted to ask you guys, if you noticed when Bettman was out there trying to curb favor with the fans and getting booed, and I loved when he said it's the reason the success of this franchise is the team and all of you fans here. And they panned the stadium, and half of them were Oiler fans. It was just, I was so upset. That upset me even more at that point, just because they don't deserve it. And then I'm seeing, they're at the beach. Can you imagine if like Connor was at like Horlack Park right now? it would be like a catastrophe. Everyone would be down there. Like not like 18 guys on a beach rolling around with the Stanley Cup. It's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking.
People are driving by and going, "What's going on with those weirdos? What's that thing?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me."
Big silver thing.
We had more people join us when my men's league team won.
It's funny with Florida because when the Oilers were picking first overall, I would be at those drafts and we'd have Gary Bettman on the show. And the draft in Florida, when they drafted McDavid, was when I asked him at that draft, are you going to relocate the Panthers anytime soon? And it did not go over well, and he never came on the show ever again. But I mean, you see, look at it. Like, I just don't know how fan base sells off 7,000 tickets for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final so the enemy can come in and cheer on their team. It's not like you can say what you want, but that's not a great hockey market. They've got passionate fans, but to describe it as a great hockey market is probably taking it a little bit too far. But what are you going to do? That's a tough one, I guess. I want to quickly ask you guys, what'd you make of Maurice getting the Stanley Cup finally? Like, that guy has been coaching for a long, long time, almost coached a team to the biggest choke job in Stanley Cup Final history, but gets the Stanley Cup. And he was actually being interviewed when they brought it over to him for the first time. I thought it was. I just like seeing somebody grind out for that long to finally get their hands on it, man. That was okay to see, I thought.
Yeah, I hate seeing guys go through their careers, coaches, player, all like not getting a chance to hoist it, and then you see a guy like Paul Maurice who's quite transparent in all the videos or all the interviews that he does. He doesn't hold back. Injects humor into it as well, which I think we all like, and just to see the raw emotion of finally getting that done, and of course, kind of the wordsmith, who are the first people he thanks is his family, and that part where he says, this is for my mom and dad back in the Sioux. Now it's whatever he said, or Richard, Beliveau, and Maurice are now on your name's on that thing. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, man. That's it's immortality. It's you try to win that thing, not to keep it, just to have it for a bit and put your name on it and join a host of other guys that are fortunate enough to do the same. But I think that was a special moment. Can't wait to see what the Drive to Survive people do with that clip.
All right. We didn't even talk about the Conn Smythe. Connor McDavid, Conn Smythe. I didn't come out to get it. I thought that was probably, I let the Panthers have their moment. I know some people are like, he should have been there. I just don't see it. Cass, what'd you make of? I thought going no points in games 6 and 7 may ended up switching that vote a little bit. I was a little surprised, but Bobrovsky only had one first or second place vote. It was all McDavid. It was all Barkov. And then Matheson had Hyman and Bouchard in there as well. But I don't know. I was a little surprised that it didn't swing back.
I thought it was going to swing more to Bobrovsky. I'm still not surprised. I wasn't surprised McDavid won it. I mean, it was historic. What he did was historic. And so I'm not shocked that he won it. With that being said, Bobrovsky was good enough that I thought a few votes would swing in favor towards him, a few more than he actually got. And I would have had Bobrovsky in front of Barkov. I mean, Barkov was great, but without Bobrovsky stealing game 1, I don't think Florida wins the cup. And he was incredible the rest of the playoffs. So, yeah, I thought he should have got more. I mean, I'm not shocked McDavid won it. I'm not upset that McDavid didn't go out. No need to do that. Let them have their moment, and you're feeling it. It's like you wouldn't want to go out and get it because it's like, it's a great piece of hardware and you love it. But it's going to be a reminder of what you almost had and what you really wanted. So, yeah, I don't take issue with Connor McDavid not going to get the Conn Smythe.
Gage, he was asked about it last night. He did say, there's a lot of great names on there. Like, I thought that was a nice way to handle it. Like, you don't want to win that in a losing effort. You don't really care if you win it probably ever, as long as you're getting your hands on the Stanley Cup. But I thought he said the right things after the game.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it's that's a very difficult situation. You don't feel like doing anything at that point, right? The people you want to be around mostly is probably your teammates, and going and getting a trophy and bringing it back into that room, like, it's like, look what I got, And I'm sure everyone would be like, Connor, unbelievable. They would be so appreciative.
They'd be happy
for him, right? But I don't mind that whole thing. I know people were upset that he didn't go. They even panned to his mom and dad, and he could read his dad's lips. He goes, "He's not coming."
Yeah.
Let's go. But it's got to be so extremely difficult, and I think that's what you want, right? As your team leader. I mean, the way he acted afterwards, waiting for everyone to leave the ice. And, he said, this is something that he can be proud of later on, but in the moment, it's not what he really wants.
Boys, excellent show today. Free agency is just around the corner. We will start to reconstruct this roster as we work our way towards July 1st. Hell of a run, Cass. Great job pre and post yesterday. Gager, great job pre and post filling in with Cass all throughout the year as well. It was a hell of a run for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll take care of business with the $100,000 hole-in-one. And I don't know if it'll be Maddie or Tommy with you guys on Thursday because I'll be in Vancouver getting ready for the Lions and Elks as the Elks try to avoid an 0-4 start to the season against a tough BC Lions team, which is tough. All right, boys, good show. You know what? We will do kind of like a half CFL show at some point this year, so that'll be a lot of fun. Two Guys Goalie presented by GS Construction. They are hiring now. Gage or Cass, talk to you guys next week.
Later.
There you go.
Peace.
That's Matt Kassian and Joaquin Gage. Let's give you the key word for the $100,000 hole-in-one presented by Golftown. Go to golftown.com right now to see all the deals that they've got right now. What are we looking at? You get drivers under $500. Cobra driver right now. One of them's on for $299. 40% off Nike Men's Dry Fit Tour Victory Ripple Polo. There's a lot going on there. Hockey season's over. It's time to trade in the jersey. Throw on a polo. Hit the links. Go to Golftown, and they will get you set up for that. It's a $100,000 hole-in-one. Very basic. I give you a keyword. You text it in, and you have a chance to have a swing at $100,000. You'll be the final of 4 qualifiers today. The keyword on Two Guys and a Goalie is sing, as in VJ Singh. S-I-N-G-H. S-I-N-G-H. Text SING, S-I-N-G-H right now, 780-218-9999. Zacticum will be in touch. Somebody will reach out to you. One of you will be randomly drawn and be thrown into the mix to have a swing at $100,000 next Wednesday at the Ranch, presented by Golftown. It's going to be absolutely amazing. All right, I am looking forward to reconstructing the roster and taking another run at it next year for the Edmonton Oilers. I think it's going to be a lot of fun this offseason. We're going to have a good time here. If you are listening right now on TuneIn, iHeart, or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, Nielson Show replay coming up right away. That'll take you through the afternoon. If you're watching over on YouTube, the next thing you see will be me, I guess, tomorrow morning, back with the Nielsen Show and Lieutenant Eric. You know what we're doing tomorrow? We're going to take a trip down memory lane from these playoffs runs. You know how many good songs and pieces of content we had submitted by all the nasties during this playoff run? Absolutely phenomenal stuff. So we'll have some fun with that tomorrow on the show. Jamie McLennan will join us tomorrow. I think we'll have Greg Wyshynski tomorrow on the show as well. Probably some more trades in the National Hockey League we can get to. This is a real fun time of year, actually, that early offseason time. Real busy time in the world of the National Hockey League. So continue to get ready for the Elks and the Lions as well. That is going to do it for Two Guys and a Goalie today. Tell your friends about EST. Hammer the sub if you haven't already before you leave on YouTube today. And we'll talk to you on the Nielsen Show tomorrow.